heading for Spain in mid-March. There's a chill in the air and some snow in the ground. We arrive at JFK, stand in several lines, get rid of our consumables, and then head for Heathrow, London. After a few hours wait and a transfer to a British Airways plane, we find ourselves finally on the way to Barcelona, Spain. Barcelona below us, we are seeing the place we will be for the next 4 days. Barcelona is a city of mass transit. We use the Renfe train and get straight to the center of town. In the subway, we meet our first street musician. He greets us to Spain with a warm welcome. We come up from the metro at the Catalunya Plaza. It's at the center of town and at the top of the Ramblas, the pedestrian walkway that goes all the way down to the harbor. The Ramblas looks like this most every day of the week. We take it down just a few blocks, heading for our hotel in the oldest part of town, near the cathedral. Live musicians are warming up for a concert tonight. This wall dates back to the Roman days. It's one of the oldest in town. After checking in at our hotel near the cathedral, we go about 2 miles on the metro and arrive at the magic fountains under a full moon. This wonderful light and sound display only occurs on Friday and Saturday nights from 7 until 9. Behind the fountain is the Catalan Art Museum, framed by a beautiful fan of lights. On Sunday morning, we walk a block to the cathedral and find Barcelonians doing their simple yet beautiful Sardana dances. Mass is going on in the cathedral, despite the fact that construction is going on too. This seems to be common in many of the churches and cathedrals around Spain. After Mass, we hear the sound of gunfire. There's a spring celebration parade going on. The parade lasted for nearly an hour, and the people dancing inside the giant puppets must have found it a bit exhausting. No comment needed here. There are 13 geese in the cloisters in memory of their patron saint Eulalia, a 13-year-old girl. We ride a mostly underground funicular railway to get halfway up Montjuic to the Miro Museum. Many museums in Spain allow photos with no flash, but but not this one. Now we're looking down at the Plaza de España, where the magic fountains played the night before. We made sure we tipped all the musicians you see in this video. For Marlia, one of the most important things to see in Barcelona was Antoni Gaudi's Parc Guell. Meant to be an upscale housing area, it's a great example of modernisme art. Wild parrots are found in trees all through Barcelona. Gaudi lived in this house for 20 years, so it contains many pieces of furniture and art that he designed. The next day we visit Sagrada Familia. It was started with Gaudi over 100 years ago and won't be finished for a generation. Though unfinished, the interior is a fully functional church that can hold thousands of people. High above the central floor, the choir lofts can hold a full 1,000 singers. Amazingly, the towers you see are only about half the height of the Jesus Tower, which will center on the church when it is finished. 2 elevators take you more than 200 feet in the air, and then you can go higher by foot. We chose to walk down the stairs, taking pictures all the way. In the distance is Montjuic, where the Olympic Stadium and major art museums are found. It takes a while to walk down these hundreds of steps. You don't want to twist an ankle at this stage in the game. After some 4 hours in Sagrada Familia, we walk about a mile to Gaudi's Casa Mila apartments, a landmark building. Fearsome-looking chimney tops are above smokestacks that come from each apartment. By late afternoon, we peek into the Maritime Museum, then go down to the docks for a boat ride. We're surprised to be accompanied by a live musician. There's Montjuic again, just above the harbor, as a container is dropped carefully onto the ship. What's that they say about yachts? If you have to ask how much, you can't afford it. On the way back to our hotel, we find a Miro mosaic on the ground. The next morning, we go back to the Catalan Art Museum, enter and spend 4 hours in wonder. The Contemporary Art Museum had a show about people who have been kidnapped, missing. The old Santa Maria of the Sea church was badly damaged in the Spanish Civil War. Not far away is the Picasso Museum that has pieces primarily from Picasso's early years. On Wednesday morning, after 4 days in Barcelona, we head for Madrid using the high-speed AVE train. Even purchased in advance, the tickets are not cheap. But the comfort and speed justify the price. Already we're going about 120 miles an hour. Before long we max out at 185. That speed gets us to Madrid in a little under 3 hours. We jump on the metro right inside the station, which takes us to within 1 block of our hotel. They even got my name right. We left Barcelona in sunshine, but here in Madrid it's a bit rainy and chilly. Soon we're in the Archaeological Museum, with evidence of early Iberia, the Visigoths, the Romans, the Celts, and stunning craftsmanship like this finely carved piece of ivory. Another 2 hours are spent in the Naval Museum, where we learn the strength of Spain and then the weakness as it was defeated in Trafalgar. Tomorrow is the Prado, but this evening it's free from 6 until 8. We're inside more than 5 hours over 2 days, but get very few pictures. They watch you like a hawk. Heading home about 8:30, we have dinner in the hotel. The next day we head for the Thyssen Museum and the Sofia Reina. It's still kind of chilly though. The Thyssen is right across from the Prado, but I think its collection is better organized. If you start on the top floor and work your way slowly down, it's like walking through art history. This museum, too, was a no-photo museum, but I stole a few anyway. Never with flash. The Reina, or Queen Sofia Museum, has the modern art in Madrid. Its most famous piece is Picasso's Guernica, but it's in an isolated room and they allow no photos. There are even film works from the early days, 100 years ago. In most of the Sofia Reina, they do allow photos with no flash. By mid-afternoon, we use the metro and head for the Royal Palace. But we go there by way of the Plaza Mayor, and by lunch, calamari, fresh fried right before our eyes. The palace is quite impressive and is still used for official government functions. Of course, here too, photos were not allowed. We walk through gardens just outside the palace and begin to enjoy the sun again. On the way back to the Plaza de Oro, we're astounded to see a display of physical agility that's amazing. We pass within blocks of one of the primary classical music schools in the country. But you can be sure this fellow didn't learn his tricks in any school. When we're on our own, we pretty much live on the economy, which means buying groceries in the store and eating them in the hotel. In 1968, as the waters of the Nile rose, Egypt gave Spain this temple Debod in thanks for their help building the dam. After a picnic in the park, we made our way to a museum of clothing in the northwestern corner of Madrid. With just a couple of hours before meeting our Cosmos tour, we had time to go through Retiro Park and catch some evening activities.
quieres tomarte, creo. Sí, sí. Derecha. Así, mira, mira, así, mira. Así despacio, ¿no?
These girls were heading for a rock concert downtown. while we were making time back to the hotel. There we met our Cosmos tour people and got a really good meal.